There seems to be an insatiable demand for small crossovers these days, and buyers just can't get enough of these things. Thankfully, automakers are there to meet the call, and there are a ton more of these on the market today than there were even just a few short years ago. The Hyundai Kona, well, it just so happens to be one of the best you can buy today. So I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time talking about the exterior styling because, hey, that's subjective and you're going to make up your mind once you see it for yourself. But I will say that this wouldn't be accused of being the most attractive vehicle on the market, and it almost makes you wonder how much success the Pontiac Aztek would have if it were on sale today. Sorry, Hyundai. I will, however, talk about this cabin because it is very nice, but in a Hyundai sort of way. And what I mean is that it's a nice, clean, modern, simple layout, but it does suffer from some cheap materials. Some of the plastics on the door panels and the dash aren't that nice to look at or to touch. But I will say that I like this $200 package that adds a little splash of color to the interior. It's only available on the top trim, and it's only available in orange, yellow, or red exterior colors, but it just adds a nice little bit of character to what's otherwise a pretty understated space. Now, speaking of space, as you can see, headroom is definitely at a premium in here. I do stand on the taller side at about 6'3", so taller drivers take note. You are going to notice a little bit of a cramped space in here. I find myself struggling to turn to the left if I need to check what's on the driver's side of the vehicle or look in my mirrors. I just feel a little bit cramped and like I'm craning my neck to have a look at what's going on around me. So make sure you take it for a test drive and feel it out for yourself. On the subject of dollars and cents, I'm driving the fully loaded Ultimate trim, and it's pretty well kitted out. It's got things like leather upholstery, a heated steering wheel, heated seats, navigation. You get the picture. But even lower end models come pretty well equipped with things like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, heated seats and side mirrors, and alloy wheels. And even this Ultimate trim only tops out at about $32,000, which is very competitive in this segment and is less expensive than entries like the Subaru Crosstrek. Now, this Ultimate trim comes with an 8-inch touchscreen, and I do wish it was just a little bit sharper. The graphics aren't all that crisp, but it is very responsive. The refresh rate is very, very nice, and I do like that it has that Android Auto and Apple CarPlay compatibility. Another complaint I have related to this touchscreen is the resolution of the rear view camera. Frankly, it is terrible. It's just very, very rough around the edges. You don't get a clear picture of what's going on behind the vehicle, and I do think that's a fail considering the other tech in this vehicle. I will admit though, one feature I really like about this thing is that the audio level automatically lowers as soon as you shift into reverse, which I think is very thoughtful and very clever, and make sure that you're focused on what's going on behind the vehicle rather than what's coming out of the speakers. In terms of the way the Kona drives, it's a pretty pleasant surprise, and it's a lot more car-like than some of its competitors. It's just really nice handling, it's responsive in a way that's atypical of a compact crossover. My Tester has a 1.6-liter turbocharged engine under the hood, and it's one of the most powerful engines available in this segment. It puts out 195 pound-feet of torque, which is plenty, and it's great when you're passing or accelerating off the line, getting around slower traffic, or merging. I really like the low-end kick that this thing has. All that torque comes online at a really low 1500 RPM, which is great in the city if you're going around parked cars and you need to get ahead of something like a streetcar or a slower moving truck. The Kona is also unique in that it's available with the choice of two engines under the hood, either a 2-liter naturally aspirated motor in lower end trims or this 1.6-liter turbo engine. Now, this definitely is the one to take. There's nothing particularly wrong with the 2-liter, it just doesn't have the pep that this offers, and if you have the means, I would highly recommend it. So the Kona doesn't have paddle shifters, but it does have 3 unique drive modes: Eco, Normal, and Sport. As you can imagine, Eco tailors the transmission and throttle mapping to save fuel, while Sport uses a little bit more fuel to give you a little bit more kick when you need it. That really comes in handy on the highway. With a small vehicle like this, you do need an extra oomph to get it up to speed. When you're merging onto the 401, it comes in handy. It's also got all the advanced safety features you could want, including adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, forward collision warning, you name it. They are only available on the pricier trims. Not that they're too expensive, but it is important to note that if you want to buy something a little bit more on the affordable side, you won't get those features. Another available safety system is a head-up display. Now, it only comes into play on this Ultimate trim, and it's one of those cheap, flimsy plastic units, and I'm not a big fan of these. Mazda uses them as well as Hyundai, and I just find myself ignoring it, and I usually use the button beside my left knee here to get it out of the way when I'm driving. It does have some cool features like displaying the speed limit on the road you're on, but I don't find it all that useful because the numbers are super small, so I find myself having to strain my eyes just a little bit too much, and that to me is counterintuitive to what this should be doing. Overall, I like the Kona a lot, and most of my complaints are little things that I would definitely not call deal breakers. One thing that could be a problem though is the cargo area. It is a nice and square space, but there's just not a whole lot of room. It's fine for groceries and weekends away, but any longer trips where you need 2 suitcases, you're gonna have to look elsewhere. The other problem is it sacrifices that cargo room, but it doesn't offer a whole lot of rear seat legroom in exchange. And I just don't think this thing is the perfect companion if you're traveling with more than just yourself. So to recap, some of the things I like about the Kona are its powerful turbo engine, standard and available features, and its affordability overall. Some of the things I'm not so thrilled about are the cheap plastics inside and the tiny cargo area. You know, if I were shopping for something city-sized with a Hyundai badge on it, I would probably slide across the showroom and into the Elantra GT. Not only does it offer a bit more space for your stuff, but it's also a few grand cheaper. The only hang-up, of course, is that the Elantra is not available with all-wheel drive, something I personally could live without, but I know is important to a lot of buyers. And that is a box the Kona ticks. So if you're shopping for a subcompact crossover, the 2020 Hyundai Kona is definitely worth a look.